In the year of 1939, where the World War II started, there was a girl named Hannah who tried to save her mother's friend's son. On this day, the Nazis were preparing for the war. Hannah's mother friend requested Hannah to rescue her son named Ashton. After that day, the Nazi soldiers were gathering up parents and children. The parents were so scared, so they tried to hide their children so they won't get kidnapped from the Nazis. When Hannah looked at the situation, she got so scared. She knew that she had to do something about it, so she went up to a building and started to think where Ashton was as she was watching the whole town at the top of the building. As soon as she watched the Nazis going to another place, she decided to follow them. However, she lost the track where the Nazis went, so she tried her best to find them by going across the bridge. Recently, after she went across the bridge, she found another town. She knew that Ashton would be here somewhere. However, she looked around and all she saw was a destroyed town, destroyed houses and others too. But then she heard a scream. When she got close to the scream, there she saw Ashton getting his personal belongings taken away from the Nazi soldiers. As she saw all the mean things that the soldiers were doing to the people, she knew that she had to do something. She decided to follow the soldiers' trucks and cars and never quit trying. While she was following the trucks and cars, it led to a place where only the vehicles can go. So Hannah took the other way where it led to the same place. There, on one building, it said Für Deutschland getan, which meant For Deutschland done. Finally, she arrived to the place where the Nazi soldiers stopped. She saw this place and she saw all the barbed wire surrounding this place. Then she saw the path leading to some other place that she didn't know. She decided to follow this path. As she was following the path, she was getting more and more worried. However, she believed in herself that she would find Ashton soon.
As Hannah kept walking through the path, she found a concentration camp. And there were her mother's friend's son, Ashton. Hannah figured out she needed to give Ashton and the other prisoners lots of food and water so they would be able to survive through the concentration camp. Hannah decided to bolt back through the path and the forest to find the closest house with food. Hannah ended up strolling into a stranger's house and stealing some food, but before she could grab all of the bread, the woman got home from the grocery store. And there she froze and didn't know what to do. She was lost in her thoughts, whether to hide or to bolt out the door. Hannah decided to bolt down the stairs and out the door. She then noticed that she had ran into an apartment building where the Nazis and Russians were invading people's houses and apartments. She knows that her race is not supposed to, or they're not allowed to eat bread because they're Jewish. So she ran out the building and she hid the bread in her jacket and ran because Hannah had the Star of David on her jacket. So she knew she had to hide the bread. Hannah then sees the Hitler assistant and remembers that he was the one who captured her mother's friend's son, Ashton. Hannah was able to run past the guards and the Nazis and go through the path and the forest with food, still hidden in her jacket so the prisoners could only see the food. Hannah had reached the barbed wire fence, and there stood 4 ladies, 2 children, and 1 man. And there was her mother's friend's son, Ashton. Hannah had not seen Ashton for 6.5 months. She thought to herself, what happened to him? No hair, no smile, no special pajamas. Just this boy that was so skinny it was horrifying. She hardly recognized him. She was in shock. Hannah kneeled down to the bottom of the fence and said, Ashton, is that you? Yes, it's me, Hannah, he said. Hannah gave all the prisoners and Ashton 2 pieces of bread. She knew she had to go before she got caught. Hannah left the concentration camp before she got caught giving the prisoners food. So she thought she would take a different path through the forest because she didn't have to run through the open to get to this path. This path was surrounded by trees. Hannah was being very sneaky. because she had no idea where she'd end up. And guess where she ended up? She ended up in the part of town where no people except the Nazis were allowed. So she shut the gate and ran back to the concentration camp and took the path she knew. Hannah ran back through the path she knew and walked out at the end of the path and saw everyone packing up and filling up cars, carts, and anything with wheels. She stumbled. She was and then she stopped dead in her tracks. Hannah noticed that the Russians and the Nazi tanks were crossing the bridge that led to another town. And there she stood in front of the building and watching the Nazi soldiers preparing for the war. It looked horrible. All tanks and guns that she saw were destroying everything. Hannah decided to go back to the concentration camp to give the prisoners food and distract the guards so her mother's friend's son Ashton could escape and get out of the concentration camp. But when Hannah went back to the concentration camp, it was gone. Tanks had gone through and destroyed everything, so there was no evidence. Hannah picked up a purple flower for Ashton for a reminder to hang in there because it would be okay and she would be able to get him out. All of a sudden, she was remembering soldiers were destroying things behind her. After 3 years, Hannah went back to where the concentration camp was. And it wasn't the same land. This land had grass, flowers, trees, and Ashton's flower. But what was still there was the barbed wire fence. And she remembered that she bent down to the bottom to give the food to the prisoners and Ashton. Hannah went over to put part of the barbed wire fence, and she went to the part that had Ashton's flower. It was dead. But even though it was dead, she knew it spread its seeds for a new beginning, and she knew it had to have a new beginning. Hannah also noticed that the seeds also spread because she needed to have a new beginning, and Ashton didn't want her to worry.